Have you ever wondered why some real estate agents perform at ultra-high levels every single year? Welcome to the Unstoppable Agent Podcast with your host, Richard Fournier. Each week, we interview real estate agents from around the world who are constantly ranked in the top 1% of the real estate industry. My mission, share with you their best strategies so that you can create your own peak results as a real estate agent. It's time to become unstoppable.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Unstoppable Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Fournier. Super excited. Lots of coffee, but very excited to have what I believe to be an unstoppable agent. I mean, this podcast is about what creates an unstoppable agent in the real estate market. I'm very honored to have our guest today, Andrew Perrie from Revel Real Estate in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Hopefully he hasn't been drinking any wine today, but we're really excited to have you today.
Well, thanks so much. In Niagara-on-the-Lake, if you haven't had at least one glass by 12 o'clock, you got to move out. You might as well go live in St. Catharines or something.
Listen, man, I'm so excited to have you here today. It means a lot. This podcast is really genuinely focused on trying to figure out what makes an agent unstoppable in their business and in their life. And I think I know after watching you for a couple of years, you've done some very amazing things in the Niagara region. I know you've expanded out of the Niagara region, but I do want to dive deep into how did you get started in this crazy business and why?
Why? I ask myself that every day, right? No, I think, you know what? I was just one of those people that, and it's funny, as the school year approaches, my wife and I are talking about my son and his current behavior as a 6-year-old boy. And I see so much of myself. And I realized that, look, unfortunately, he's going to be, singled out as one of those kids that not going to be able to focus. School is probably, unless he starts, changing now, school's not going to be that number one thing for him. And he's going to question things. And that was me to a T. And, growing up, I missed a lot of school, whether in high school was skipping or, whether it was in preschool, just pretending I was sick. And it was all because I didn't feel like it's not because I didn't feel I was smart enough. In fact, in some cases, maybe I thought I was too smart. But, it was one of those things where school wasn't for me. I could show up, I can miss 30 days, nail out a test, get 80%. I'm like, okay, great. What's next? And that was how, my 20s kind of were set up. So as somebody who goes through that, if you don't have a plan in life where you're starting a business or you're starting to invest in yourself, you're just going to miss school, college, and then you're not going to you're going to have those early years in your 20s where you're really not sure what you're going to do with yourself. So, I hope now that I have an entrepreneurial burning desire to see my kids succeed, I'm not going to allow what happened in my 20s to happen to my son, that's for sure. But where I'm going with this is that I really didn't have a clear mindset on what I wanted to do with my life, as well as, you have your parents, you have everybody else like, dude, what are you doing? Like, music career's over. We can talk about that if you want. And what's next for you? And I really couldn't figure it out. So I got into the sales industry and immediately felt, this is where I belong. And things just started connecting. And the way I thought about sales was something completely different from your average salesperson. It was from a leadership mindset, a CEO mindset. It was like, okay, great. I can do these sales. Great. But if I teach people how to model their salesmanship based on what I've learned and how I do things, I can really start maximizing. So I became the general manager of a company called LA Fitness. They've got a gym in Barrie and all over the world, right? Or all over North America, almost about 1,000 clubs. And from there, I was able to, break some sales goals, hit bonus, all by my ability to help influence and motivate my team. And then eventually I was just like, look, I can't do this. I can't sell 100 memberships a month and make 5,000, 10,000 max. I think the biggest paycheck I ever got was 10,000, and that was including my bonus. So with that being said, I'm like, okay, so where can I sell one unit that nets me the most amount of money possible? I thought about cars, but naturally, of course, it was real estate. Right. And up there in Barrie, where you are, is the Mark Ferris team. I grew up in Barrie. I know the Ferrises very well. Thomas is a really, really good friend of mine. And this is of no offense to them whatsoever, but I felt like if they could do it and do it at such a high level, then, I should be able to do it as well. We have the same influences. We love hockey. We're small town guys. They actually grew up on a farm. I just lived backing onto one. So that's how I kind of got into real estate. It wasn't necessarily like, okay, I love houses. I love serving people. I'm going to get into the real estate. It was an honest conversation that I had with myself that how can I net the most amount of money possible and really start to jump set the next position of my life.
It's good to hear. I think a lot of people, when they get started, it's a default profession. It really, most of the time, unless your parents are in the business, it's a default profession. When you got started, I'm sure you just batted it out of the park. Things went really well. Net income was 400 grand for the first year, I'm sure. In all seriousness, what did the first year look like, and how did you get started?
Well, you know what? The first year, so it was kind of similar to people starting in the last 2 years. So I started in the boom of 2016, 2017.
Got it.
So on the tail end, I got my license like late December. So when I tell people, I actually got my license in 2017. I don't care. I'm not chalking up getting my license in December as it counts, because that's the deadest time, right? Anyways, I'll digress a little bit. So January I started. We had maybe 2 months left of absolute craziness. So I was able to do the groundwork necessary that when I got my license, I was kind of off to the races. Right. I had a bunch of videos banked. I had a database. I had my first listing within my first 2 or 3 months, and that sold in 2 seconds, and sold in multiple offers, and I got paid, and I bought them a house and no conditions. And then reality started to kick in. And it's what a lot of agents are experiencing right now. Right. So reality started to kick in. After my first 2 or 3 deals, I was a hot shot. I knew everything. I was wearing a tie clip. You could find those old videos. And then it was dead stop. And what I started doing, and I noticed this a lot, and I can pinpoint it in new agents now as a team leader, as a director of Revel Realty, and I get to meet all these new realtors, all these people that are switching brokerages, and I see exactly what I went through in these people. It's where you start looking for, hey, can I get like a mentorship position, or do you need help with social media, or do you need a manager at your office? And I said, look, what do you want out of the real estate industry? Is this something that you want to be a top salesman and you want to make 300, 400, 500 grand plus? Because diverting now and going into those positions are only going to set you back. And luckily I had people I had one mentor that, enabled that situation. And then I had one that halted it. And I went through 3 months of almost like, what the hell have I done? I left a corporate position. I left a sale. It was salary and commission and bonus. I left when my son was only 2 months old, my firstborn. And I was very stressed out. I had one deal not come together after working my butt off for it. And it was very, very stressful. I was used to failures by that point in my life. And I only started to learn by maybe my second year that failures aren't really failures unless you don't learn anything from them. So yeah, if you want to talk about pain in the first year, it was not only pain, it was a stricken numbness fear that basically took over me. And one thing I did it, and you're going to think I'm crazy. Your audience is going to think I'm crazy. How I got over it was putting myself to even more stress. So what I did was I bought a house, and I hadn't even gotten paid for those first 2 deals that I did in the first place. And I had no prospects. I had no conditional deals, nothing. I bought a house. I had to take out for my RRSP, which was only $2,000 for the deposit. And then, because deposits back then were still only like $5,000, by the way, not 50,000 like you see now.
I love Niagara.
Right? So we bought a farm, $500,000, put $5,000 down, and I set the closing for 6 months. And I worked my ass off, and that stress, that pressure allowed me to put myself into a position where I would take no for an answer. I would work every Saturday, every Sunday, work every open house that I could possibly do, collaborate. I was doing podcasts, I was doing blogs, I was traveling, interviewing people, really amping my shit up. I don't know if you're allowed to swear, but just really amping it up and making sure that I was a ruthless, you know what?
Yeah, you were ruthlessly building scale in your relationships.
Exactly. And you know what? I also, in that ruthlessness, was uncovering aspects of the business that I'm like, hey, if there's one person that can learn from this, I'm better start sharing this value. So I got involved with a bunch of real estate groups on Facebook, and I started sharing that value. Within my first year, I had a 60% agent-to-agent referral business. By the second year, I had 80%. And now I'm sitting at my personal business, not my team's business, but around 85, 90% agent-to-agent referrals. And it was that hustle to, what I learned from is that, you know what, if it's clients or if it's realtors, like how fast did you post that? And then I reached out to you or vice versa. Like I'm very, very accessible, and I'm very, very fast to return comments, Instagram messages, Facebook messages, and shares and requests. I answer my phone no matter what, 1 to 3 rings if I'm even on my way to a meeting. And I think that accessibility allowed me that growth in those first 2 years, as well as, like I said, facing those fears and dealing with that pain head on.
If you don't mind me digging a little deeper there, I'm just going to come off script a little bit in my mind. Like,
yeah.
A lot of people, like some of the people that I do some work with, sometimes they'll hit the wall, and we call it the terror barrier, right? Where you hit this wall, and it's either you're going to go through it or you bounce back, and you never come at it again. What did you use, or how did you never mind putting yourself on the line. Some people put themselves on the line and they crumble. No, and this isn't a fact of they're bad people. I'm just like, what is that emotional difference between someone who decides to go all in emotionally, spiritually, financially, bet on themselves, and the ones that don't? What is it? What was it for you?
Well, for one, Rich, I've never done this in any interview ever. So this year, I'm just going to flex for you.
I love it. I saw your workout stuff with, there's a gentleman.
This year it says all in. I've had that tattoo since I was like 17, all in. And that's how I've always kind of lived my life. And you know what? I think, sorry guys at home, this is going to sound absolutely crazy, but the most simplest, is that a word? The best way I can explain life in business is think about, especially to us millennials, is think about Super Mario. Think about that game. You are either Mario or Luigi. It doesn't matter. You all start from the same place and you end up in the same place. And you encounter the same obstacles. And, your first time playing it, did you get a perfect score? No. Did you complete the first level? No. So life in business is all about, okay, if I jump here, I'm going to land in that hole and I'm going to die and I got to restart. That is what we call failure to an extent, but that's what I call a lesson. I just learned not to jump in that hole. And after a few times of falling in that hole, getting kicked by a Koopa, getting turtle shells and tomahawks whipped at you, you eventually make it to the finish line. And that's how I look at life. I don't look at the setbacks or the obstacles as something that has provided an unbreakable wall. There, you can tell I didn't graduate in an English major, by the way. But like an unbreakable wall, I don't believe that exists. I don't believe in ceilings. I don't believe in a plan B. Do I have an exit strategy? Of course. However, if I go into a situation, like think about how Mario first started. You couldn't go backwards. There's no backwards. You can't go backwards. You can only go forwards and restart and learn. There's no going backwards. And then if you have that mindset drilled into you, your passion, your ability to keep going, that just grows stronger. And then what does that do? It builds the conviction inside that you don't ever have to be scared about failing again. You're excited to fail because that means you're getting closer to your end goal.
It's a great answer, actually. I've never heard it put that way. And I played a lot of Mario Brothers. When you, like, I've watched you do some great branding and video stuff. And I think one of the most difficult things a lot of agents experience is that they fall into the trap of worrying what other people think about them.
Yep.
They want to be liked and they don't want to be disliked. It's a big deal. And did you ever experience that kind of fear, or did you just say, like, this is me, screw you, I don't really care what you think?
So somebody's asked me that before, and I feel like I fumbled the answer. So I'm going to try to articulate myself in this one, because yes, and you can ask all my best friends, you can ask my teachers, it's obvious that I want to be liked. I would much rather be famous than rich. Not only because of the opportunities that come along with being famous, but sure. It's not from a clout perspective. It's from a respect and reputation and making people feel good about themselves. And I wasn't necessarily trying to impress people or worried.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was. Now, I didn't really fully understand because I always did my own thing. Right. Like I went to college. Yeah, great. I went to university, but I left. School wasn't my priority. I went for some bullshit golf course program. It doesn't matter. And I always did things different. I never stayed in my hometown. I went after the money. I searched for the opportunities. You ask everybody who knows me, I am different. And people who know that. And maybe it's not necessarily in a good or a bad way, but at the same time, I still do kind of care. So it wasn't until I'd say about COVID, because I don't know what it was. I think it just slapped a whole bunch of people in the face and put things in perspective. If you look up to COVID, go through my Instagram, motivational quotes, suit, tie, nice clothes, shoes. You look post-COVID, like April 2020, I'm wearing a t-shirt, I'm wearing a cotton blazer, I've got these, capris on, whatever the hell you call them. They're not capris, but I don't know. You know what I mean? And it's just a casual mindset. It's less of trying to impress somebody by the way I look and more about how much value I'm giving that person on the day-to-day. Got it.
So I know a lot of my clients do experience worry about what other people think. And so it stops them from actually doing the activities that they need to do. When you look at what is working in your business today, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, some of the research you guys were plus 65 million in volume last year, 2000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you look at that type of activity versus what you did to make that happen and what you're going to do next, is it going to change, or are you doubling, tripling down what you did do in the past?
So, unfortunately, what we had done in the past 24 months is just a little bit different than what we're doing now. And the reason why is because we are more focused on organizing the insane amount of leads that we were dealing with over the last 24 months. And now, organizing the lead generation activities. Now, we always say, Okay, great. You're busy, but you need to still be doing lead gen, because the day that those leads dry up, you're still working on the business. However, the last 24 months was just so insanely busy that we were working with high ticket, but also highly converting leads that they were super quality, and we were super, super busy. And now we're dealing with, we still did a lot of lead gen, do not get me wrong, but now it's, we're just strictly trying to prospect with purpose, putting goals in place, and coming from an educational standpoint to help our buyers understand that you got to get in now. Whereas before, it was more of a reason of trying to educate sellers of why to get in now. And to answer your question, the systems are consistently changing. The foundational systems are staying the same. But again, if you're not growing and adding different aspects to the business that allows you to, for example, we went from 1 admin to now 3 admins. So what does that allow? Am I going to have all 3 admins focusing on the same task? Absolutely not. So now we can start adding services, adding different, campaigns, different client care initiatives, different events, different marketing, and we can add that all to your business. So from the foundational standpoint, are we doubling down on what we know works? 100%. But in this period of time where everything's kind of uncertain, we're tripling up on different ideas for marketing, different idea for sponsorships, charity events, and who we're aligning with, and just really starting to make those collaborations and networks a little bit larger.
Got it. And when you look at, if you don't mind me getting a little granular on this,
yeah,
just because some of our audience is like, so what does Andrew do? Right? We're like, what is that, the day-to-day? So is it fair to say that prospecting, phone calls, SMS, texting, messaging, trying to capture people's information to back-end market them is a very large part of your business, your day-to-day?
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. I would say what's larger, though, is those types of activities that you just mentioned, except with existing clients. Existing. It's that old saying, it costs more to bring a new lead in than it does to service an existing lead. Do we still actively prospect for new contacts? Every day. But for our team, our values are more about touching base with our existing clients on an ongoing basis. That means, every time the Bank of Canada releases something else, we're calling them saying, hey, just to let you know, if you've got any questions, I know there's a lot of headlines out there. They can be scary, misleading, and then you see another one that's completely different. So we're here to help answer any of those questions. Is there anything I can answer for you right now while I've got you? No. Okay, great. Well, if you know anybody who might be looking for these answers, please pass along our number or let us know today. So something like that, because I think the way prospecting is from the general sense is a lot of people think that prospecting is, let's say for a new listing, open house, or somebody, a lead comes in on a listing of yours. I feel most realtors fail or salespeople fail because they consider that, a lead for that particular inquiry, where, it's 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they're not buying that house that they're calling you on. So we like to switch up our scripts and not, hey, what did you like about this house? Or when can I get you in for a showing? It's what made you call today? Is an acreage property something you're looking for? And then you can go into the specifics of the house. And the reason why we do it that way is because it instills a mindset of educate and value in our entire team, right from the new lead to our existing leads, to our past clients, and of course, our referrals.
Got it. It sounds like it's a relationship a long-term, deep relationship focus style of business. It's not just, get the lead in, try to transact, nothing happened, move on. It sounds like you're really trying to deep dive into their life.
Yeah. Yeah. How exhausting is it to sell 500, 1,000 houses like some of these teams do? And they're all, their return clientele is very, very, very low. Think about how exhausting that must be. Every year having to beat your last year's goal by finding new people. Like, that's insane to me. The way I've always marketed myself, my brand speaks for itself, my collaborations, my networking, it's of the mindset that, hey, if I put myself out there, provide value, people come to me, and those people, and that way of marketing, it's not only fun and a little expensive, but it's also a way of pre-qualifying people, because you attract your tribe. By the time they get in front of you, they already want to work with you, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I talk to a lot of clients, and I'm like, you got to put yourself out there, and there's really only one great way today, and that is what? Video, more video, and more video.
Absolutely.
Show up and like do video. And I haven't done a great job myself around that. And when I watch someone like you leading the way, doing some really great things in Niagara, you're really showing other people and breaking ground for other people. So we do appreciate that. If you were to give someone advice around starting today, Andrew, in this market, someone who's betting their life on this game, what would you tell them to do first thing today?
So number one is always. So there's two options that I always tell people. And before you even start either option, you need to get 200 names in your database. If you're licensed or not, start preparing your friends, your clients, your sphere that you are in real estate, or you're about to be, and you are going to be that person that's going to be able to provide all the value that you can to these people. Because why? You know them personally. You aren't going to jeopardize your relationship for a paycheck, and you're going to be able to provide the best service, because as a new person, you have a lot less on your plate, and you have the ability to not form any bad habits. So that's my pitch. Okay. Now, number one, you either do this, and again, if you're going for number two, you should probably do this anyways. But number one is get known with businesses in your local area, form those partnerships, and film yourself reviewing their business. That's the easiest thing you can do with the cell phone, and you can even do it by yourself. You walk in, selfie mode, and you buy something. Maybe you talk to the owner, maybe you don't, and you just film yourself, flip your camera over, put it on a bench, and you film yourself eating a cookie or whatever. You give them a shout out, and that way there's your content. You can do 5, 10, 100 businesses in a week, and you just keep posting them. And then that way you're breaking into the community, because again, people are not just going to buy from you because you're a top realtor or you just listed, just sold. They're going to buy from you because you're invested into their community, or you're going to get those people who are moving into the community because you are now positioned as the authority in that area. You know the best places to eat. I like to eat. If I'm moving to Toronto, I want to know all the fine dining places. Where's the best spot to get a cookie? I want to know those things.
Sure.
We truly do. Because I'll be honest with you, doing the tip videos and all that stuff is great. It is great, and it's a great way to get, yourself out there. But as a consumer, especially in the first little bit, because I'm not saying in your first year, but in your first 2-3 months, everybody knows you're new because you're breaking into that space. You're the only followers you have are probably friends, family, or acquaintances that already know what you do, and they know because you've probably been keeping them posted that you are a new realtor, right? So
you hope that's happening.
Right. So I would stay away from it personally, just like, hey, buyer tip, seller tip, because, again, I don't think they're necessarily going to take that realtor seriously as much as they would a Frank Leo or a Mark Ferris or a Rob Golfi. So that's what I would focus on. Build the relationships with the communities. They're the easiest thing. Do business in 12 days of business Christmas like Jason Steele does. And then number two is join a team. join. I'm serious about that. 5 years ago, if you would have asked me that question, I'd say, fuck no. Yeah. Go on your own, door knock, do this, do that. Now the industry has changed so much that you've got my team to compete with, Golfy's team to compete with, this guy, that girl, Peggy Hill. Like, good luck competing with them. So why not join forces with either one of them or another team, a smaller team if that's what you prefer, but make sure they have the support, make sure they have leads, make sure they have training, make sure they have marketing, because you're going to need that. I have never seen an industry, and I don't want to steal this line from Glenda Baker. I was just at Tom Ferry, although I've said this before myself, but this industry will $25 you to death. That's what she said live. So I find as realtors in their first year, they spend so much time and money and effort chasing that shiny object, lead generation, websites, marketing, postcards, this, that. All good things, but joining a team or a brokerage that already has those systems set up, then you can just plug and play, learn, then grow, and then do the sales. And then in your second year, see if you want to go solo.
I think it's great advice. I think the industry's spitting, it's taking them in and spitting them out raw. And you're right, you nickel and dime to death. And very few people have the capacity to build brand and to last through 3 to 5 years worth of pain to get to the other side. And even then, at the end of the other side, you get interest rate increases that completely change the entire market.
Exactly.
Right. I appreciate this very much. I think the advice you're giving is straight up. And I believe that if people follow what you're saying, they'll be able to survive this next transition. And if you were to look out the next year to 2 years, will you continue on social media to the level you're at? Are you going to expand out? Like, what does that look like for you in terms of growing, your organization to a different level? How does that play out?
Well, from a social media standpoint, absolutely. We're going to continue with adding more and more aspects. We're working on a 3-part pilot for Chorus Entertainment, which of course is HGTV, Stack TV, those types of channels. And
fantastic. Then, is that known? Hold on, like you're just dumping that on me here. Is that known, or is this like
people do know about it? It's not like HGTV approached us. Yeah. We're just kind of building these pilots out and designing them for the pitches. Do we already have the meetings set and booked? Yep. Is it a for sure thing? Absolutely not. So, we've got to pay for all of that. Those are the investments that we take as business owners to get in front of the people that we want to get in front of. And then, we'll be doing our own. We're stepping up our studio aspects where we're in 2 to 3 times a month for a few hours a month. So we got a new podcast coming out called That Fine Life. We've got a bit like almost like a table talk series coming out where they film our team meetings. We've got stage recordings coming out, and eventually a chorus. We've got a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm not joking. I want to be the most well-known agent globally. And that's our goal of the Fine Estates team. And we'll start small. We're in the Muskoka area now and the Niagara region, and we're already looking at 2 other markets to expand to. So in the next 2 to 3 years, we hope to have that show secured. We hope to have 2 more markets under our belt, and at least bump that sales volume up to 150.
It sounds like you operate in the future. You operate with a burning desire around something.
Yes.
Like you're not looking at your past failures. You're not looking at past challenges or problems. Sounds like to me very focused on a destination. How big of a part is that playing in your business model? Because I know a lot of clients that, agents I speak with today who are stuck in fear, desperation, anxiety. Mm-hmm. And you're operating in the same atmosphere, but you're going towards something greater. That's got to be the biggest part of your business.
Absolutely. And you know what, I thought you were going to go in one direction when you mentioned clients, but I thought you were going to say, like, what are your clients? How do they feel about all that? Because it's funny, like our clients actually approach us and be like, how are you not on TV? How do, we've just got this feeling of they knew before I knew. And I don't even know. So how do we keep pushing? It's just, I've got this, like you said, burning desire, this deep rooted conviction that that's where I'm going to be. And it is, again, this is not a trend to following selling sunsets or something like that. It's not a vanity thing. It's, I want to grow one of the biggest real estate businesses in the world, next to the names of Tom Ferry, Ryan Serhon, Josh Altman. And, where it's not just a vanity metric because we have a TV show or an online show or a YouTube channel or a high converting Instagram account. It's the value that we're giving. And, I went to the Tom Ferry event and, regardless of what I think of that style of coaching, it was very motivating. And a lot of people that I talked to have been working with them for 10, 12 years or since he broke away from his dad. So when you find people that have devoted themselves to helping other people succeed, it really, I can't imagine that feeling, but I would imagine that it feels amazing. And I feel that my purpose is to do something similar. So I could feel fulfilled at the end of the day. Is that a little selfish to say that I want to help people for how it makes me feel? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of it, it's a win-win for everybody, I guess, right?
No, I think it's phenomenal. I think ultimately we do things for our own selfish reasons. It fits a human need, whatever we do. And that's part of life. And that's, especially in our industry, we're here to serve, and it gives us something emotionally, spiritually, and financially by serving more people at a deeper level. So, Andrew, I really appreciate you spending some time with us today. The Unstoppable Agent program and podcast is really designed to help people grow, to get to a different level. The contribution that you're giving to people today, I think, is extraordinary. And I really do hope people take what you've said and actually execute on those ideas. But I believe if they execute on those ideas, they'll meet with success that they would not have had that level of success if they didn't execute on that. I want nothing but the best for you. I believe you're going to do everything that you said you are going to do. And I look forward to watching every part of the journey. And I do appreciate, how can people reach out to you if they need help, or if they're looking at making a move down to either the Niagara region or, of course, the Muskoka area?
Well, you know what? I always sign off by just saying my Instagram name. So at the Andrew Perrie. But you know what? Our team has done such a good job with our new website. So thefinestatesteam.com is also where you can check out a lot of our listings and services and all that good stuff. But for the fastest answer, personalized answer, is at the Andrew Perrie.
I really appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you so much. And I wish you nothing but the best this fall.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you've heard and you're interested in creating a quantum leap in your real estate business, here's what I want you to do next. Head over to www.theunstoppableagentprogram.com and book an appointment to speak with our team. We'll get on a Zoom call with you for about 30 minutes and get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, what do you really want out of your life and your business? Number 2, what is not working for you today? And number 3, the exact mindset strategy you should be using to create massive change in these areas. Remember, creating massive, consistent results in your real estate business does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen. We're helping clients all over the world create peak results in their real estate business. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.theunstoppableagentprogram.com. We'll chat soon.